Hey little cuties, Demi Bemi here, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. Today, to nobody's surprise, we are making a Japanese-inspired build. This was heavily inspired by a Pinterest photo I saw. The front of the building looks pretty much the same, and the side buildings are pretty much the same. So that was kind of what I went off of. I don't actually know what the interior of the build looks like, so I kind of took my creative liberties there. And I kind of just wanted this sort of maybe not very well upkept, like kind of traditional, kind of like modern kind of a vibe with it, where the interiors seem like kind of traditional, you know what I mean? Like there are traditional elements, but maybe it's not a super old building. I also decided to not furnish the two side buildings just because I wanted them there more for set dressing than anything else, because I wanted it to feel a little more full and cramped without actually filling up the entire space. I really do wish that we had gotten like smaller lots with city living. I feel like that would have been really cool, but you know, what can you do? Also, at the recording of this, we have not yet received the eco living or eco lifestyle or whatever it's called. And I'm like super duper excited about that. We will be able to not have our doors and windows be like on the grid. And I'm so excited for that. It's gonna be great. Also, we got more apartments, which I'm super excited about. We got like walk-up apartments, which is cool. And I'm excited. I cannot wait. Anyway, so I guess back to this build. So this little townhome in the center here, I am imagining it can be used with roommates. And when I playtested this, my sim seemed to prefer the upstairs apartment. I did make quite a few little tweaks after the recording of this just to make it usable. You'll see here I attempt to make a, oh my god, kontatsu. I almost wanted to say tonkatsu, but that's not right. Anyway, what that is a dining table that sort of has like this built-in blanket, and they usually have like heaters in them in Japan, because heating, like electricity in general, is like very expensive. So people don't really have like full-on heaters like that in that way because it's so expensive. So you would have like this table that had a built-in heater, and everyone would like kind of hang out at that table and like talk and be warm. So I attempt to make one of those, and I had put some poofs at it, like the actual like seating poofs, and originally they weren't usable. At the end for the like little video tour that I have, you'll see that there are some things that are adjusted a little bit, and that's because those things weren't usable. So I deleted a couple of items here and there, and adjusted a few things. So everything is now usable. But like I said, I was imagining that this build is for roommates. Well, not like 4 roommates, but you could have like a non-player sim with you to help pay rent. However, I don't know, I keep having this like weird issue with roommates in my game. I don't know if it's a glitch or it's because I'm using move objects on, or like what the situation is. But every time I try to have a sim have a roommate, they hang out for a little while and then they get like upset that their needs aren't being met. Or they like claim that there's no place for them to sleep. And I don't know if this is like happening to a lot of people. I don't know if this is like the roommate system having some bugs in it. I don't know if I'm doing something, like, I don't know. But when I had play tested with a roommate, for some reason it just like wasn't working. Like my roommate would hang out for like a little while, so just be aware that that might be like an issue in this build, just saying. Anyway, so here I am making the kontatsu, which is, I'm using these towels. I tried to follow what Freezer Bunny did on his channel, I believe. I probably like really could have just like rewatched what he did, but I didn't. So I just kind of was winging it. And then I was looking for like other items that might look blankety, and like nothing seemed to be quite right. And the only thing that like really like fit were these towels. So we just go for it. And I probably could have added lights down there if I wanted them to be like brighter in their actual color, but I really like this sort of like dark blue, like navy situation we have going on. So I left it like that. And I did adjust these poofs that I put in so that your Sims can actually sit there and watch the TV, which is like kind of cool. So it almost appears to be functional. So that's really cool. I wanted to make sure that I gave both of these units that I'm building a washing machine and a clothes rack. One of the clothes racks isn't actually functional. It's more of there just for show. I don't actually know now that I'm thinking of it, because there's an upstairs balcony. And I don't know if the Sims can get out there. I honestly didn't even check. That's like the one thing I think I like just didn't check. Anyway, I kept wanting to add in those like shoji door divider things, and they just like didn't fit anywhere, and that made me really sad because they're just too short. Like they just don't fit right, you know what I mean? So anyways, I also wanted to make sure that I gave both of the occupants bicycles, because that's obviously a very big thing in Japan. People bike everywhere. Most people, I think at least that live in the city, don't usually own cars because public transportation is so good, and owning a car in Japan is actually kind of expensive. I know that like you're gonna say yeah, owning a car is expensive in general, but like you pay a lot of taxes on your car. Like you have to pay road tax every year, I believe, which depends on the size of your vehicle. And then every 3 years, you pay something called JCI, which is Japanese Compulsory Insurance, where you have to go, it's kind of like how we have, not really though. Anyway, so JCI, you have to like take your car in and get it inspected, and they will tell you what you need to get fixed for your car to be like up to standard for you to be able to drive it in Japan. And that can get like very expensive, especially if you have like an older car. And then of course you have your just regular car insurance, and then you have your gas. So, and gas is like a little expensive in Japan. So people just like in the city, I just don't think it doesn't make sense for them to own a car. You feel me? But when we lived there, we had a car because we kind of lived out in like a more rural area. So like if you're trying to get around, you need a car. Because there was like one train station in our town and it was like all the way across town. But anyway, so you'll see that in this like back half of this lot, I made a little shrine. It is super common to just see like shrines like tucked in places in the city. Like you could be walking down like an alleyway and then all of a sudden there's just like a shrine or a temple just like in the middle of like homes in like a back alley somewhere. So to me, that feels like my experience in Japan is just like, oh, here we have like all of these places up here, but then you like walk down this alleyway or down this road, bada bing, bada boom, you have a shrine or a temple. And then I actually did add in, it's not obviously functioning because we don't have any items like this, but at a shrine you have like your like offering container box. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure it has a name. But it's like either a big wooden box or a big like cement box, and it has bars that go across it and you can throw your offerings in there. And so I created like, somehow, I don't even know how it worked out perfectly. I used 2 debug items. There was like a flower pot and then a like a vent or something like for the ground, I guess, like oh my god, I cannot think of it, like a rain drain, like a drain. Oh my god, I'm like totally blanking. Anyway, I was actually able to like lift up using the 9 key that vent or drain or whatever to put over that flower pot so it looks like there's like rungs in there. I don't know, it's super cool. I'm very excited about it. I also didn't put anything in the shrine, only because, well, not only because, 2 reasons. I really only wanted the livable build to be furnished. I didn't want really anything else taking up any more like CPU power, you know what I mean? But also, I've never been inside of a shrine. I don't know if you're allowed to go inside of shrines. I've seen people inside of shrines. I've never been in a shrine, so I don't know like what's in there. I've only like kind of peeked in through the windows to see. I have been inside temples, but they're 2 different things, so I didn't want to really base it off of that. So I just like didn't even go there. Okay, so now we are finally on to the 2nd floor. I did want to like keep this build very like cozy feeling with kind of like lots of items. Housing in Japan, as you probably know, is quite small in a lot of places, and you have like sometimes like whole families like living in really small quarters, and so you have like a lot of things like around, at least like I've noticed. So it seems like, I wouldn't say that Japanese people like are cluttered. I don't think that's really it. I think that space is limited and they have like essential things, you know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that it felt very like full, I guess, in that way. So, okay, so here you'll see there was that clothesline down at the bottom floor, and that's the only usable clothesline. I hate that we only got 1 clothesline with laundry day. Like, we literally could have gotten like a cool like metal one that like attached to a wall. That would have been like the coolest thing, because that's, I mean, at least like, because, you know, I'm hashtag a weeaboo. So for me, like, that's such a smart place to have a clothes rack. Like, I think it would have been so cool if they would have had like that clothesline that attached to the wall. It could have been like the same size, like whatever, but like while it was like not in use, that it could have been like flush up against the wall, and then your sim could like pull it down and then use it. And every time they like took clothing, like whenever they went to put clothes on, they would pull it down, and whenever they took clothes off, they would put it back up, or it was like an automatic thing where it went down and up. But I think that would have been like so much better, like just because you have like this big giant thing that's in the way. And I know they had like their vibe with it, like their whole like aesthetic for the pack, but I don't know, I'm sure there's like a mod out there or like a CC item out there that I could probably find. I just wish it was something that was like already in the game. But so the upstairs one, anyway, long story short, isn't usable because I sized it down, because in Japan the balconies are usually really small. They're not really used for like hanging out and chilling with your bros. They're usually for just drying clothes for the most part. Anyway, so this upstairs apartment, I wanted to have a very different layout from the one downstairs. I wanted them to be two totally different, unique feeling homes. I also really wanted tatami mats, and the only way that I could make a convincing tatami mat was to put like the full, like some sort of just like a basic like wood flooring down, excuse me, and then put the low like floor dividers. Like I don't know what those are. I always think of those when you're going from like carpet to like linoleum or something, those like little, you know, trim pieces. Putting those down, and then actually taking one of those rugs that has like that ribbed sort of texture, and then putting that down, because the fencing will actually sit on top of it and gives it like the appearance of like a woven mat situation. You know what I mean? So we do add a little tatami area for the downstairs. I imagined that maybe this entire, or for the most part, like these houses had a lot, wow, tripping over my words. I imagined that they were maybe upgraded from having several tatami rooms to installing like wood flooring to be like quote unquote like more modern. But a lot of places in Japan, I think, still have tatami rooms. I think that's still like a thing in traditional homes or traditional styled homes. So like that was like kind of the vibe I was going for, was like they kept some elements from the past in these like apartments. I did have like quite a bit of trouble with the layout of this main space. Nothing seemed to be like working right, and I was trying to keep it like pretty open concept, which wasn't really like working out. Like things just like didn't make sense. And so after I try a couple of things here, so I try the like shoji divider situation again, doesn't work. So I just wow, I haven't spoken to like a live human in so many hours, so like I feel like my mouth is not working. So I decided anyway to do something a little bit different and actually divide the space with this wall. And I think that layout is so much more effective, like to be honest, than like the open flooring plan. I think only because it seems like quote unquote like more Japanese, just because a lot of homes have like, I mean like newer modern homes are like pretty open concept, but a lot of traditional homes seem to be a lot more closed off. And I think that's for like heat like heating and cooling, where you would like close off a room to keep it cool or to keep it hot. Because in the winter it does, I wouldn't say it's like super cold in Japan, but it does get pretty cold. And in the summer it gets pretty hot, and it's also quite humid in Japan during the summer. So it's important to be able to like close off rooms and open them kind of like on a whim. So I made sure to put one of those sliding doors in, and then I felt like happy with the situation. It felt a lot more like realistic, I guess, and just like made so much more sense. And I was able to like, with that like wall down the middle, like I was able to put stuff down. It just felt so much better. Anyway, so the bathrooms, you probably noticed, are like blue and pink. The bathrooms, I've noticed in Japan, a lot of times, I don't know, Japan as a whole kind of has this like retro futuristic vibe, like 80s kind of thing that like I got anyway when I lived there. And I think these bathrooms are like left over kind of from the 80s, where the tile were kind of like these bold, I wouldn't say bold because it's not like really a bold color, it's just it's an interesting choice of color for tile for bathrooms. But I've seen yellow, pink, and blue bathrooms are like really popular. Also, I think like white or like a creamy beige kind of a color is also popular. And this is purely speculative. I'm not trying to like say I'm like this Japanese building architect historian person. But I definitely like think that's what that is. It's like leftover tile from like the 80s. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So here we go in the video tour. I will quit talking your ear off. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you little cuties in the next one. Bye guys.